Joaquin Phoenix won the Oscar for Best Actor and gave a speech that was described by Vox's Aja Romano as Joaquin Phoenix's Oscar speech was a sprawling socio-political epic was the title of her piece, and she provided the transcription. I'm gonna read some for you because we weren't sure if we would get a copyright violation by playing the video for you. I think whether we're talking about gender inequality or racism or queer rights or indigenous rights or animal rights, we're talking about the fight against injustice, against the belief that one nation, one race, one gender, or one species has the right to dominate, control, and use and exploit another with impunity.
Yeah, man.
Off the bat, for me, this was like, right there, I just wanna say it was the beginning of like, I never know what to do in the conversation because there's like the structure of like the group in power and then the people that are struggling through oppression and everything. But it feels weird in this for me. I'm just gonna say how I felt in the moment when he started talking about animal rights. Like when you're talking, I get what he's doing, but it just feels weird and I don't know what to do in those situations on like lumping together like a number of disenfranchised groups of people, let alone ending it with animals and then going on, like he said, many of us, what we're guilty of is egocentric worldview. We go into the natural world and we plunder it for its resources. We feel entitled to artificially inseminate a cow. And I was like, oh my God, what is he talking about? And when she gives birth, we steal her baby, even through her cries of anguish, or even though her cries of anguish are unmistakable. And then we take her milk that's intended for her calf and we put it in our coffee and our cereal. That's where it started. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
I don't know. Because I had heard the statements he made at BAFTA, which were really impactful in terms of the lack of minority representation in the awards. I thought he was going in that same direction when he started his speech here at the Oscars, not the case. And so when he moved over to animals, yeah, it just got very different.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He was apparently involved in a documentary about animal rights recently. It's something I think he talked about perhaps at the Golden Globes. I'm not sure in his acceptance speech there. Yeah, like I don't disagree anything with once he's talking about specific things that we do, pointing it out, I think is important and powerful because a lot of what we do because we don't think about what we do or what we're doing, what it represents. I feel uncomfortable with the lumping in, and I know that's where a lot of the pushback is going to be because you don't want to make people feel like, oh, no, we're good on that. So now, like we're moving over here, I think.
Yeah, for me though, like we'll get to the turn that I was like, oh, now I know what he's talking about. But this was like the best acceptance speech that's mentioned inseminating cows. Like that's where I came over with it. It's like,
5,
I did not know you could go there, but he says he says, I think we fear the idea of personal change because we think that we have to sacrifice something to give something up. But human beings at our best are so inventive and creative and ingenious. And I think that when we use love and compassion as our guiding principles, we can create, develop, and implement systems of change that are beneficial to all sentient beings and to the environment.
Yeah.
And like that arc for me is watching like actors make a point at any award ceremony. Mm-hmm. It's like, for me, I have to like for people like Joaquin Phoenix specifically, like the artistes and auteurs who have been through so much, and like he went through that, he did that movie where he really alienated all of Hollywood, and then came back from like a year and a half away to do his documentary, and no one knew if it was performative or not. Mm-hmm. You're just like trying to read the tea leaves, but that is that was, for me, wildly insightful. Mm-hmm. It's like you think you have to give something up, and that I think has to do with like oppression and racism and power dynamics in societies. But he's like, it's like that saying that for the oppressor, equality feels like oppression. Like, or for the privileged, equality feels like oppression. He's like, no, we can just figure it out through systems that benefit people.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think that there's a good movement toward that, as we saw with what was it, at the Golden Globes, they had a completely vegan, plant-based meal. I think that's so incredibly smart, you know? It's like, if you wanna be a part of this, we are gonna be part of the change and moving it forward.
Yeah, I noticed, I was watching like the red carpet beforehand, and they were doing this thing, I forget what channel it was this or that, and they have a celebrity and they say, do you like this or do you like that? And it was Cynthia
Nixon?
Erivo.
Yeah.
Nixon, no.
Sorry.
Erivo, and they were like, do you like bacon or sausage? And she was like, well, neither. Wait, no, they're doing good plant-based sausage, that. And I was like, it is becoming far more common that sort of thing will be referenced. One thing that I hope coming out of this, particularly because it's Joker, because it was Joaquin Phoenix, was when the movie was like about to come out and in the immediate aftermath of it, there was this like critical analysis of what is the message of this movie? Is this spreading a dangerous or a right-wing sort of sympathetic movement? Is it sympathetic towards incels or just people who lash out and rage, like the white male rage thing and all of that? And while I like the movie, I do kind of still think the message is not necessarily one that I support. But anyway, I hope that all the people who got super invested in the movie, the big fanboys for Joker who were like, how dare they turn against it just because they don't like part of the message, they're trying to, it's censorship for this thing. And so now that it won, and he's got this message, which is not a traditionally right-wing message, I hope that some of the people who have been standing for Joker for the last 4 months are paying attention to what he's saying and give it at least a chance.
And I think it was very socially responsible of him to do that in terms of making that message known, especially given, as you've mentioned, essentially what Joker really symbolizes.
Yeah, he also, and then he made it turn toward like kind of cancel culture. He says, I've been a scoundrel in my life. I've been selfish, I've been cruel at times, hard to work with, and I'm grateful to so many of you in this room who have given me a second chance, and I think that's when we're at our best, when we support each other, not when we cancel each other out for past mistakes, but when we help each other to grow, when we educate each other, when we guide each other toward redemption. That is the best of humanity. I just want to, when he was 17, my brother wrote this lyric. He said, run to the rescue with love and peace will follow. And that was the end of his speech.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
But like in the context of the rest of the Oscars, there was no host. There were still echoes of Kevin Hart not being there. And even Chris Rock came out and said, there's a reason that there's no host, single host for the Oscars, and it's Twitter. Everybody's got a tweet. And so they didn't have it. This was one of the many times throughout the Oscars where they addressed something. And in this speech, really two different things about like what the Oscars and like glamorous Hollywood have been struggling to overcome from an image perspective. And I just wanted to know, is this the right message to send out there? Did he get it right? Or can he be criticized as saying essentially like, let people go if they made really, really terrible mistakes. If they say they're sorry, who are you to judge?
Yeah, well, I think it depends on the circumstances, because I know there was a time when Trevor Noah had said some stupid stuff when they had announced that he was gonna be the new host. And so that stuff came back to haunt him really, but he acknowledged, hey, I messed up and it was a problem. I think when we talk about Kevin Hart, who doubled down on everything, then that's a whole different, framework. Because if you have evolved as an individual and you make that known and you apologize and accept, your behavior, condemnation, whatever comes with that, I think that's a whole different platform. And those people can be reintegrated to opportunities in society because they showed they are willing to kind of evolve and move forward with the norms and what's expected of people.
Yeah, and you, like, apologizing doesn't necessarily end it. No. You might have to apologize multiple times. Yep. That's part of it. I mean, conflict of interest, I'm actually cited in his special about
Kevin
this.
Hart,
criticizing him in a video. Yeah, a brief little thing. There's several people.
Awesome.
But anyway, yeah, so look, it's a case-by-case thing. How bad is what you said? How bad is what you did? Doing things in some cases might be a lot worse than saying things. Yeah. How long ago was it? But definitely, are you actually apologetic? Like when Rush Limbaugh got that award, and I and many other people put together compilations of the worst things he's ever said. Well, why are you trying to cancel him for those things? Because he's never expressed any regret ever in his life for those things. That is still who he is. That's why he's getting the award. And so are you actually sorry for it? Have you actually learned?
Yeah.
Like Mel Gibson, has he ever apologized?
Not that I know of.
I don't know. And that's the other aspect of it. Like, oh my God, I do these like year-end specials and they ask me a question and I'm like, they're like, what about this Kevin Hart stuff? And I'm like, oh, I don't remember. I think he apologized. Oh no, he did. Let me look at my notes. Because there's so many things that came up in such rapid succession. It was really, we even had like an ad here called Cards Against Womanity. There was a satirical thing where it's like you're trying to remember and somehow you're comparing all these terrible things in your mind even though you don't want to, but you have like this ethics math to see like, this is the worst, is this not? And then, I don't know. And meanwhile, these are real people who are the victims of these actions.
Yeah.
And there's real people who feel actual remorse for doing them. And those actions are all different. But I do this thing where like I walk outside for exercise. I don't know if other people exercise, but I do. And I heard there's like this pod of conservatives that are always out on their front porch talking about the news. And I just overheard on my walk in the morning people saying, if these celebrities think that people give a damn about what they have to say, they're joking. Do you think that this will get through to anybody that needs getting through to?
Maybe a few people.
A few people?
I do.
Is this the right way to do it?
I get what they're saying. I think that sort of sentiment is mainly because a lot of the people who produce art are not traditional right wingers. There are great segments on Fox News about why celebrities aren't important. Often you'll see people like Dean Cain on those segments. Everybody wants the celebrities to be on their side. It's just that they tend to not be on the right wing side, and so they don't like it. Should Joaquin Phoenix's perspective on whether you should be a vegan, climate change, anything like that, should it matter more? In some sort of cosmic ethical sense, probably not. But he can reach a lot of people, he has a lot of fans. If that pushes people in the right direction, it's a hell of a lot better than him going on Fox Nation to talk about why he thinks immigrants are awful. And he hasn't done that, I'm saying as a hypothetical.
There are some things I think that we don't necessarily give these celebrities enough credence for or credit for. Some of them are really, really intelligent people who know a considerable amount of things and they are educated and informed to speak on it, particularly comedians. And so it's one of those of don't necessarily discount these individuals just because they have multiple talents, because they may know a considerable amount and also do a lot behind the scenes. So, if they have something to say of value, I think we should listen.
Right, and also like if those guys on my morning walk think that no one listens to these people, that nobody listens, he's like, if they think anyone's paying attention, they're full of it. No. If those guys think that no one's paying attention to Joaquin Phoenix and these messages he's sending out, then that guy's crazy.
Don't miss your chance to win a trip to Los Angeles and have dinner with Cenk, John, and me. Just head to tyt.com/dinnerinla to register to win. Sign up for a free Aspirations Spend and Save account. Then you just register your eligibility and swipe your Aspiration card daily on purchases to gain entries. Not only are you entering to win a trip to Los Angeles and dinner with TYT hosts, you're also not depositing your hard-earned money into fossil fuel exploration or production. As a friendly reminder, even if you already have an Aspiration account, you must still register for eligibility into the sweepstakes.